Hi everyone, I'm Sharon Strine, and welcome to the 5 o'clock club. You're officially members of the club with all the benefits of membership. The Rittenhouse Square Board actually came up with this as a way of keeping the artist community going outside of and beyond the June and September shows. So keep this day and time in mind, Thursday at 5. Next week is Teresa Haig. If you've been to the show before, you know her work. It'll be great to see her at work. So thanks for joining me here tonight. You're with me in New York City. I'm right by a window, so I can show you a little bit of the city. We're actually overlooking City Hall. To the left, I'm not sure this window will allow me to show you the Hudson River. To the left is the Hudson River in New Jersey, and over to our right is the Brooklyn Bridge over the East River into Brooklyn. And we have these great views because we're up on the 41st floor, up in fireworks and helicopter territory. So that's pretty neat. That concludes the tour of the city. What I'd like to do is start a painting for you tonight. But first, I want to share some of my recent work. I always have ideas for new pieces to build on my current bodies of work. My newest work has been a focus on urban settings and human relationships with them. I like to capture and convey moments and relationships that evoke feelings, usually very positive ones, positive human traits. So I've been working on these urban settings and finding special moments and examples of optimism and caring and strength and sometimes humor. So a couple of examples of this body of work. This particular painting was reposted on a Facebook group called Fathers Matter, and it took off and went viral from there. I believe that at the last count it had over 185,000 shares, so that was pretty special. This is another sweet scene from the subway. I love this bride with her sneakers on and bunching up her gown to get on the subway. These are the things that make us smile. So as I say, I always have ideas for new works in this theme, but something else struck me that I wanted to do. Oops, can you do that? I noticed on Instagram a site called Morning Rounds. I'm sorry, I jumped to that. First thing I saw was an artist in the United Kingdom who started painting portraits of healthcare workers in this pandemic. His name was Tom Croft. Other artists began to follow suit, and it became a collaboration with a charity to give this growing collection a more permanent home. I think over 700 portraits have been submitted to date. And this spoke to me for a number of reasons. My daughter is a surgeon. Our neighbor and friend is a surgeon. Being in New York City, we got a good early and sustained look at this pandemic. There's a hospital on our block. And so for several months, every evening at 7 o'clock, there was a tribute to all the healthcare workers, and we would see people out on their balconies and banging pots and pans and horns blaring, and the fire department brought the fire engines to the street where the hospital was, and firemen and women in complete dress would stand out on the street facing the hospital and applaud, and and sound the sirens. It's pretty stirring. At the same time, on our street by the hospital was a refrigerated truck for the bodies. So these healthcare workers are special people, and they're doing really important work. So I don't know about hundreds of portraits, but everything starts with a first step. So I started looking some more, and I found an Instagram site called Morning Rounds. It's full of the faces and stories of the future of medicine, that being medical students. I'm going to put this in its place so I'm not shaking and holding this any longer. There we go. And there was one young woman whose image and words really struck me. So I reached out for permission to paint her, and I was thrilled to get approval right away. I will be sending this finished portrait to Morning Rounds for her. So this is Tiana. Haven't met her, but through her image and her words, I really get a sense of her strength and purpose. In fact, I promise I'll be painting shortly, but I wanted to share her words. This is the message that was posted by her image on the Instagram site. Tiana's a fourth-year medical student. And she says, "As a medical student, I've been grateful to see signs that the medical community may finally be ready to discuss racism and its role as a public health crisis. The way I've seen race in the medical community at large discussed has been personally disappointing at times. I think there's a lot of room for growth for discussing race in a more nuanced and authentic way. And I've been working with students to try to make this a reality. We've been working to find research that updates our understanding of race and social determinants of health outcomes of our patients. We often assume race is solely biological, but it's not. Race is cultural and social. The way the world treats people based on their race has continually been shown by research to affect life expectancy and outcomes of care. The deaths of people like George Floyd point tragically to the continued discrimination of citizens based on something they can't control, the color of their skin.
Speak up.
I want better for my patients, better for my family, and better for my community. Black people deserve respect, love, and compassion. Their lives matter. My life matters." So clearly a young woman who intends to make a difference. How's the sound, folks? I apologize. Oh, sorry we lost someone. Well, I think it's time to paint. And this is how I prepare. This is a linen canvas. It actually has another painting underneath it. It was a study from a live painting session. And I painted over it with tinted gesso to give it a new surface. And then I draw directly on the canvas with charcoal. This is a technique I picked up on from an artist named Robin Smith. Still problems with audio. Yeah, I will just try to speak up.
Some say they can hear
I apologize.
you fine, and others say
Yeah.
they can't.
If some are hearing well and others are not, perhaps try toggling your audio on your machine, obviously. So I was speaking, I think, about the technique that I'm borrowing from an artist whom I admire, Robin Smith. She's an instructor at the Art Students League of New York and does beautiful figurative work. So the work begins with a complete charcoal sketch. I establish the composition and the form, and for me, the spirit of the piece. Once I like what I have, I fix the charcoal to minimize the smear with hairspray, and then I paint. And I usually start with dark areas first. But I'm not real strict about it. Once I begin, you kind of go where the piece takes you. And all you creative souls watching, you know what I mean by that. So dark areas first, and I begin with a kind of a favorite foundation color. I use Van Dyke Brown and some ultramarine blue. I know I was listening to Carrie Sacco's 5 o'clock club the other week, and she said, I never use black, and I tend not to use black as well. That's my use of this Van Dyke Brown and ultramarine blue is kind of a substitution for that. I find it has more dimension, and when you get into values, adding other colors or adding white, it isn't cold as using stark black right out of the tube can be. I do use ivory black in painting or mixing my flesh tones, pardon me, and I'll get into that some more. Feel free to chime in if you have questions or comments or just want to make conversation. I realize for some, the idea of drawing or painting a recognizable person is not necessarily simple, but it is really. It is a practice of seeing as much as it is rendering. Your brain can get in the way of your vision. You think of an eye, and your brain tells you, well, that's an almond in a circle, and you do that, and you have an emoji. So, if you kind of take the filters away and squint and take that definition away and then see shapes and form and color, those are the building blocks, if that makes sense. It's awfully quiet. People able to hear me now? For those who may not have joined right at 5 o'clock, or maybe aren't able to stay through the whole session, which is probably about 45 minutes. The 5 o'clock demonstrations are also going to be on the Rittenhouse Square YouTube channel and saved on the Facebook page. With the mention of Rittenhouse Square, I should say we're almost out of August, and September is when the fall Rittenhouse show ordinarily is. We're we're having it. It's virtual. So keep September 10th through the 13th in mind. We will be online, and there will be live Facebook Live events, Zoom events. We'll have interviews with artists on Instagram, and many of the artists are going to be doing virtual booth times. So you can conference and see one another, and speak of maybe cook up an idea for a piece that you'd like to be done, or if you see something you like and you want to show the artist, your living space, and talk about where it might best be placed, then that's a great opportunity for that. How's the picture showing up okay?
I moved the camera, so.
Okay. I did a Facebook Live presentation for the June show, and I was sharing a helpful tip that I will repeat because I actually left out a very important part of it. I was talking about how I use this paper palette to do all my mixing, and I obviously put my paints on there, and I save it by freezing it. I tear off this paper sheet, I put saran wrap over it, and then I fold it in quarters, put it in a Ziploc bag, and put it in the freezer, and then it's there for me to reuse the next day. When I spoke about this in June, I realized I forgot the saran wrap part. You don't put the saran wrap on it, you're not going to be able to use that mess of paint. So apologize for that. If anybody used that tip, I'm sure you must have realized there was a step missing. And actually, one of our artist friends, Chuck, chimed in during the session and said, Chuck Joyce, I mean, chimed in and said, yeah, I use them too. But he didn't correct me. He must have been laughing. I also probably should make note of the fact that I've got some pre-mixed colors here on this palette. Do that mostly because I want to really cover some ground in our time together tonight. The flesh tones, I used what is called the Zorn palette. It is made with a limited number of paints. It is yellow ochre and cadmium red, ivory black, and titanium white. And the colors that, all of these colors, and I could have done more, all of these colors inside here are made with that combination of just ivory black, cadmium red, yellow ochre, and white. these I've started mixing some red into it, so that helps kind of give you more range. But that's a nifty way to start with your base colors for flesh tones, and then I stray from there. But that's a common question. People also ask what kind of paints, and that one kind of depends on what I've used in the past that I've been pleased with. Even though one tube of one brand might have the same color name as a tube of another brand, they can really vary. So you tend to experiment and find your favorites. So I'm really doing the form first, and I feel the need to do an overall. I'm going to go into the darks. I'm going to kind of go over the body and maybe even suggest some background, so I've got some nice contrast going. I want a strong light source. You can see I've begun to suggest that it's brighter over here. There's a shadow on the shoulder, and because this is a medical student representing kind of the future of medicine to me, I'm going to have kind of a neutral gray back here and some yellows in this direction. So beginning to get ideas about what I want to do with the rest of the piece, kind of visualizing as I go. Gotta get the white coat in there. Just a suggestion, just because. Right?
You approach a portrait differently when you know or don't know the subject personally.
What a great question. Yes, I'm sure I do. Obviously, if you know the person, you have in your mind's eye so many, kind of snapshots of them, and you know them, in all dimensions. You maybe have a history with them. When you don't know the person, what I will do if I'm doing a commission portrait, for example, I ask for lots and lots of photos. I want to see every angle, even at different ages, so I really nail the likeness, but also capture the person in spirit. And I also want to have a conversation about the person. So, tell me more about them. Tell me about their family. What's their if they have siblings, what's the order? Are they the oldest? Are they the youngest? How do they get along with their siblings? How do they get along with others? Just tell me more. Tell me more. Because it is, more important that you capture that person's complete identity, not just, that they're recognizable. And that's what makes a portrait important and special.
So on that score, when you're painting someone you know or from a specific image, how do you fluidly switch back and forth between the left brain specificity and the right brain flow state, the emotional state?
Gosh, I'm not sure I do that switch back and forth that effectively. I think they, they're both present. I would say that the further I get with a piece, the more time I spend looking, just kind of stepping back and studying it. And that, when I do that, I probably am kind of working with different compartments. I first, want to step back and look at it and smile and go, yeah, that's them. I feel it, I see it. And so that's the emotional response. And then I study it more as, is this a successfully executed piece? And that certainly sounds very clinical, doesn't it? So yeah, I guess there is the left brain, right brain going on. But what I really mean to do is convey and capture, soul, human, just humanity, and that's not a paint by number thing.
Do you always use an upright palette?
No, no, I never do. I do that for Facebook Live. It's kind of fun though. No, it's usually, on the kind of counter next to me. But the more I do of this, the easier it gets. The only thing you have to be careful of is, dripping, sliding. So there's no other medium in this. This is strictly paint. And then when I use my brush, then I'm dipping into some linseed oil. Good questions. Okay, as I said, I'm just kind of suggesting this stuff. And I'm going to get to another area because I want to cover a lot of ground. I always end up with a fistful of paintbrushes. While I'm at it, I should remind, I like to remind that it's best to mix your paints with a palette knife rather than using your brushes. As if you have good brushes, you really want to take care of them, and they can wear down very easily if you're mixing and scrubbing with them.
Question, do you always use smaller brushes, or will you start to go larger as you progress?
I use both. It's a lot of fun to use larger brushes, and I'll turn to them when I'm doing background and such. So I go back and forth, but I probably don't use anything much larger than that. That's an 18. And I use lots of different shapes, filberts and brights. And The larger the canvas, the more I'll use the big brushes.
And somebody asked where they can see your finished work.
Where to see the finished work? Oh, I should be repeating the questions. I'm not sure you can hear Michael. Someone asked where my finished work can be seen, and that was a nice softball. Thank you, whoever asked that one. My website is Sharon Strine Art. We're on the Rittenhouse Square Art Facebook page. I also have a Facebook page, also Sharon Strine Art, and Instagram. And come to New York.
And will they get to see this piece when it's done?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Question was, will you be able to see this piece when it's finished? I will definitely post it and then send it on its way.
Will you be sharing a demo during the September show?
Yeah, as a matter of fact. The question was, will you be sharing doing another demo for the September show? I think I am scheduled to do a Facebook Live on Saturday. That would be the 12th. I think I'm at 1 o'clock. And then I was speaking about the virtual booth idea that some of us are doing. I will be available virtually through Zoom after my Facebook Live. So I think that's like from 2 to 6. So thank you for asking.
Are you ever inspired to capture the connection between humans and their pets?
Question was, are you inspired to capture the connection between humans and their pets? I have actually done a number of pet portraits, so yeah, for sure. I've also kind of snuck in animals in a lot of my other pieces, and yeah, I'm a big animal lover. We have a new pup. Ruby is infamous here in our building, and I think our pets are such amazing companions. They can be great studio buddies. So yeah, the connection is fun to portray. So are we getting a sense here? Liking it so far.
You're at 5:32.
What was it again?
You're at 5:32.
Okay, thank you. Are you laughing? My husband Michael is here keeping an eye on the comments for me, and I did not seek his approval before talking about him, but he's such a great companion at the art shows, well, and in life, but people get such a kick out of talking to him at the shows, because he speaks our language. In fact, it's funny, if I step away, he can speak to my artwork, about my artwork, I was going to say as well as, I think better, better than I do. Sorry, I'm in the zone. I should be talking.
Somebody wrote, just that tiny bit of light made her face start to sing.
Yeah. Isn't that something, how you just, you get a sense of what's needed where. I had art instructors that had that gift of be working on something, and they, just I'm not happy with it yet, and they'd come over and say, "May I?" and pick up a brush or a palette knife in one stroke, and you'd go, "Ah, that was it. That's what I've been trying to do." So this is a lot of tickling. Just kind of touch it with the colors that I think belong there, and then I'll blend. I'll drop in maybe a highlight. Let's see. And then blend from there. So I tend to work really light and build. So kind of almost like pastel. She's coming to life. I'm probably out of the camera view this way, aren't I?
Oh.
Oh no? Okay. Mhm.
Do you feel you are, in a way, developing a type of understanding of the person as you paint, as if you know them by the end of the work, if you don't already?
That's a really good question, too. Do I feel that I am getting to know the person as I paint and know them better when I'm done? I'm kind of paraphrasing. Yeah, for sure. It's really rewarding. There was a question before about, the difference between painting someone you know and painting someone you don't know. It's really rewarding to paint for someone that you don't know, haven't met, only know through, what you've been told, or, the pictures that you've been given by the person who's commissioned the painting, and then find that you just really nailed it, that kind of a reaction of, oh my God, they're right here. That's, that is exactly that person, and I can feel them. That's really gratifying, and I think that only comes from taking it all in, contemplating, maybe being a people person, and just being receptive to every clue, and then interpreting that and expressing that. It's interesting. I also get a sense of what this person must sound like. When you think of, this is visual, but I also feel like I kind of engage all of my senses. So I have a sense of what Tiana's voice must be. And somehow that is important to me. Somehow that's something that I kind of hear and follow as I'm working. Does that make sense?
You're coming up on 2 minutes left.
Pardon me?
2 minutes left.
2 minutes left. Holy smokes. Wow. Well, thanks everyone for keeping me company. That time flew by. And thank you for the questions, and thanks for tuning in to 5 o'clock, and keep doing so. This is really really a lot of fun for me, and I do hope that we'll see you again at 5 o'clock clubs and at the show in September. So keep September 10 through 13 in mind. Check us out on the Facebook page, on the Rittenhouse website, also on our YouTube channel. All of these videos reside there eventually. So if you miss the whole thing, or you miss one, you can go to the YouTube channel page, and see the lineup of demonstrations that artists have done, and you can check back and see them at any time. So thanks again, and that's a wrap. Thanks, folks.